So you ever look at one of those directory maps at a huge shopping mall, or maybe like a sprawling airport terminal, and you're searching for that big, bright red star that says, you are here.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Right. And usually finding that star is incredibly helpful. I mean, it grounds you. It gives you immediate spatial awareness so you can plot your path forward.
It gives you a baseline.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But imagine you are in your 40s or 50s and you're looking at your financial map. For a lot of people, spotting that you are here star, it doesn't feel helpful at all. It feels like a total shock to the system.
Oh, it's terrifying.
It really is. You look at where you are, you look at where society told you should be by this age, and it feels like, well, that star is pointing to entirely the wrong continent.
Yeah, it's that sudden sinking realization of your financial geography. And what makes it so difficult is that the distance between those 2 points, like where you are versus where you expect it to be, it often seems completely impossible to cross. The gap between expectation and reality in midlife, it can be an incredibly isolating place to live.
It really can.
Yeah.
And the weight of that realization is exactly what we are tackling in today's deep dive.
Absolutely.
We're focusing on that precise, heavy moment, hitting your midlife years and realizing you need a massive course correction. And our guiding text today is a step-by-step roadmap specifically designed for this exact scenario.
And we have a very specific rule for today's deep dive, right?
Yes, we do. The Midley Nomenclature Protocol. Basically, the reading instructions dictate that we cannot use any generic terms like the source material or the book or whatever.
I love this rule.
Right. So we have to refer to the material exclusively as the Midlife Money Reset, which honestly perfectly captures the mission here. We're looking at how to execute a total financial reset.
Playfully noted, and I completely agree to the protocol because, the Midlife Money Reset is exactly what we're doing, and it's a mission I think a staggering number of people are quietly desperate for. Because the target demographic laid out in the Midlife Money Reset, well, it isn't for 20-somethings opening their first high-yield savings account.
Right. They aren't debating crypto in this one.
Exactly. This is explicitly designed for midlife women and really anyone who finds themselves starting over from scratch after major destabilizing life changes.
Yeah.
We are talking about events that completely fracture a financial trajectory. Specifically, the Midlife Money Reset cites things like a late-in-life divorce, a massive medical expense, or an unexpected corporate layoff.
And that demographic focus sets up the entire premise for you, the listener. The fundamental argument of the Midlife Money Reset is a radical mindset shift.
It's huge.
It's understanding that your past financial decisions or the traumas you've endured, they do not actually dictate the math of your future.
Right.
It's about looking objectively at those past events and learning the specific mechanics of taking control so you can make this next chapter your strongest one yet.
Exactly. But to get to those mechanics, the Midlife Money Reset insists we have to clear the debris first. I mean, you can't build a new house on a cracked, debris-filled foundation.
Okay, let's unpack this because before the Midlife Money Reset even touches on spreadsheets or compound interest or investment portfolios, it forces us to look at the psychological starting point.
Emotional stuff.
Yeah, and that starting point is defined by two very heavy, paralyzing concepts, which are shame and overwhelm.
Mm-hmm.
The Midlife Money Reset acknowledges a simple, undeniable truth. Life happened.
It happened.
Responsibilities grew,
Yeah.
parents got sick, marriages dissolved, and somewhere along the way, those pristine financial goals just took a backseat.
And that phrase, life happened, is doing a lot of heavy lifting in this roadmap.
Oh, for sure.
It's a very compassionate acknowledgement, but it's also a factual baseline. The Midlife Money Reset isn't pointing fingers or giving you a lecture about the daily lattes you shouldn't have bought in 2014.
Right, thank goodness.
It's recognizing that in midlife, the sheer complexity of existence naturally expands, and financial perfection is often the first casualty of that complexity.
But here's how I visualize this. Because carrying around this financial guilt, the shame of having zero retirement savings at 45, the stress of constant uncertainty, it isn't just an emotional burden.
No, it's physical, too.
Right. It's like trying to swim while wearing a backpack full of rocks. It acts like a mental spam filter. Your brain actively hides your bank statements from your conscious attention to protect you from the stress of looking at them.
That's a great way to put it.
So the Midlife Money Reset explicitly states that the first actionable step is to let go of guilt and create a fresh financial starting point. But I have to ask for some translation here.
Sure.
How exactly does shedding emotional shame translate into a practical financial strategy?
Mm.
Because letting go of guilt sounds like great therapy, but therapy doesn't automatically deposit dollars into an index fund.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the emotional state is the very mechanism dictating the practical actions, or rather the complete lack of action.
Ah,
The Midlife Money Reset promises that this reset will help you get to a place where you are no longer avoiding your finances. And avoidance isn't just a quirky personality trait.
right.
It is a documented physiological and cognitive response to perceived danger. When you're paralyzed by shame about past debt or overwhelmed by the terrifying math of how much you need to retire, your cortisol spikes every single time you look at a spreadsheet.
So your brain just shuts it down.
Exactly. Your brain protects you by making you ignore it. You don't open the mail, you don't log into the portal, you just tread water.
You just try not to look down so you don't realize you're sinking.
Precisely. By forcing a shame audit first, the Midlife Money Reset ensures that you decouple your self-worth from your net worth.
I like that. Decoupling self-worth from net worth.
Taking that mental spam filter offline is what actually paves the way for the clarity and confidence the Midlife Money Reset promises. You cannot make strategic, aggressive decisions about asset allocation or debt reduction if your nervous system goes into fight or flight mode every time you see a dollar sign.
Wow, yeah.
So the emotional reset is a practical financial tool because it removes the neurobiological barrier to entry.
I see. The emotional ledger has to be zeroed out before you can look at the actual ledger without panicking.
Exactly.
So once you bypass that mental spam filter and you're finally looking at the numbers, you need a safe place to stand.
You need a foundation.
Right, you've stopped avoiding the problem, but you can't just immediately jump into a high dive of advanced options trading or real estate syndication.
Please don't do that.
Yeah, bad idea. You have to build a highly secure base. And this leads us directly into the foundational strategies in the Midlife Money Reset.
Yes, moving from the emotional reset directly into strategic defensive action. The Midlife Money Reset outlines a simple plan to rebuild your financial foundation, which basically hinges on learning how to organize your existing cash flow and aggressively prioritize what really matters to keep the lights on.
And a massive part of that defensive foundation, according to the Midlife Money Reset, is something they call the Midlife Emergency Fund Blueprint.
Yes, the blueprint.
Now, I'm going to push back pretty hard here, because if you read any personal finance article, watch any money guru on YouTube, or take a high school economics class, the absolute first thing they tell you is to build an emergency fund.
Sure.
It is the most standard, ubiquitous financial advice on the planet. I need to know what makes a midlife emergency fund blueprint fundamentally different from the generic 3 months of expenses advice you're handed when you're 22.
What's fascinating here is if you look at the mechanics of how the Midlife Money Reset structures this blueprint, it becomes clear that the mathematics of risk fundamentally change as we age.
Okay, how so?
When you're 24, an emergency fund is often framed around acute, short-term inconveniences, a flat tire, a broken laptop right before a big project, a surprise dental bill. All right, the small stuff.
Yeah, you might need a couple of $1,000s to smooth out the bump, and if you lose your entry-level job, you can likely find another entry-level job in a few weeks.
But at 50, the bumps aren't bumps, they are craters.
Exactly. They are craters. The Midlife Money Reset specifically pairs this blueprint with unexpected life events and creating a plan for those starting over after divorce, job loss, or life changes. A midlife safety net isn't a convenience fund. It is a critical structural buffer designed to protect you against prolonged, life-altering transitions.
That makes a lot of sense.
Let's look at the data the Midlife Money Reset implies. A mid-career or late-career job loss in your 50s has a drastically different recovery timeline.
Because of ageism and stuff.
Precisely. Due to ageism in the market and the highly specialized nature of senior roles, a job hunt might take 9 to 12 months, not 3 weeks.
So the scale of the emergency fund has to mirror the scale of the potential disaster. We aren't talking about 3 months of rent. We're talking about a tiered liquidity system. The blueprint suggests moving beyond just cash in a checking account. You need Tier 1, which is immediate liquid cash for acute emergencies.
The flat tire fund.
Right. But you also need a Tier 2, a larger runway of 6 to 12 months of essential living expenses parked in accessible, low-risk vehicles like high-yield savings accounts, money market funds, or short-term CDs.
Wow. Up to 12 months.
Yeah, This protects the money from inflation while ensuring that if a divorce fractures your household income or a medical event forces you out of work for a year, you do not have to liquidate your retirement accounts at a massive penalty just to buy groceries.
But hold on. I understand the logic of needing a 12-month runway. But if someone listening is already feeling completely behind and they are struggling to just pay their current bills,
It sounds impossible.
yeah, telling them they need to stockpile a year's worth of expenses sounds mathematically impossible. How does the Midlife Money Reset say we actually fund this massive safety net without just eating rice and beans for a decade?
That's where the roadmap pivots from micro-budgeting to macro-restructuring. The Midlife Money Reset isn't telling you to clip coupons harder.
Thank God.
It advocates for structural downsizing. It asks you to look at the massive overhead costs you might be carrying from your previous life chapter,
Like what?
like the oversized family home after the kids have moved out, the 2 car payments, the storage unit full of things you haven't touched in 5 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
The blueprint funds itself by teaching you to trade the illusion of status for actual, tangible liquidity. You sell the heavy, expensive anchors to fill the emergency life raft.
That is a crucial practical distinction. For you listening, this is about recognizing that building this foundation isn't just checking a generic box on a financial to-do list so you can feel responsible.
No, not at all.
This is about creating a personalized, heavily fortified plan where you are actively protecting yourself from prolonged uncertainty. It's moving from that state of psychological avoidance we talked about earlier into a state of active tactical defense.
You're building a fortress.
Exactly. You are building a fortress that can actually withstand the kind of Category 5 storms that hit in your 40s and 50s.
And that fortress, that layered safety net, is what keeps you secure in the present. It stops the bleeding.
Right.
But as we know, the ultimate goal of the Midlife Money Reset isn't just to survive today in a state of perpetual defense. The goal is reclaiming your financial future.
Which logically shifts our conversation from present security to the thing that keeps most midlife individuals awake at night staring at the ceiling.
Future wealth and retirement.
Yes. The ultimate midlife anxiety. You wake up one day, you look at the calendar, and you realize you are significantly closer to standard retirement age than you are to your college graduation.
It's a sobering realization.
And the panic sets in. The Midlife Money Reset tackles this head-on with what it calls a realistic retirement catch-up strategy and the implementation of smart money habits that actually stick. And here's where it gets really interesting, because the math of catching up on retirement is usually what causes people to quit before they even start.
Yeah.
They just give up.
The way I see this, trying to save for retirement starting in your late 40s feels exactly like joining a marathon at mile 13.
That is a very accurate, if slightly terrifying way to visualize it.
You are stepping onto the course halfway through the race. You look around and you see people who've been running since mile 1.
They're cruising.
Yeah, they started investing in their 20s. They have this steady, comfortable rhythm. They've got the massive wind of compound interest at their backs, and their portfolios look fine. And you realize instantly you cannot run the same race as them. If you try to just jog at their pace, saving the standard 10% of your income starting from mile 13, the math simply does not work.
No, you won't make it.
You will not cross the finish line before the sun goes down. You need a completely different strategy to bypass that mathematical wall. You need a specific catch-up strategy to, as the Midlife Money Reset promises, build momentum and make up ground. This raises an important question. How do you actually build that kind of aggressive mathematical momentum without triggering the exact emotional overwhelm we just spent the first half of this deep dive trying to clear out?
Right, because telling someone to run twice as fast at mile 13 sounds exhausting.
And highly prone to injury.
It sounds like a recipe for a total breakdown.
But that is where the mechanical genius of the approach lies. The Midlife Money Reset explicitly promises no complicated systems, just practical strategies you can implement immediately.
Simple is better.
Always. This is why it states that it is not generic financial advice. A generic approach would just hand you a complex algorithmic spreadsheet, lecture you about sequence of returns risk, and tell you to magically save 60% of your income.
Which nobody can do.
Exactly. But a highly targeted approach for midlife women recognizes that you need mechanical habits that bypass willpower altogether. It's about learning to build wealth with intention rather than just crossing your fingers.
Give me an example of the mechanics. What does building wealth with intention actually look like when you're starting late?
One of the core mechanics in the Midlife Money Reset is what financial planners often call income phasing or redirected cash flow.
Okay, how does that work?
In midlife, you often have old debts that are finally dropping off. Maybe you finally pay off a car loan, or a child finishes college and you are no longer paying tuition, or you finish paying off a lingering medical debt.
Oh, I see where this is going.
The catch-up strategy dictates that the exact second that monthly expense drops off, you do not absorb that cash back into your lifestyle checking account.
You don't upgrade your life.
No, you set up an automated transfer so that exact dollar amount goes directly into a tax-advantaged retirement account. You never see the money, so you don't inflate your lifestyle, but your retirement savings rate drastically accelerates without you feeling the pinch in your daily budget.
You're hijacking your own existing cash flow. You were already used to living without that $500 a month because it was going to the bank for your car. Now it's just going to your future bank.
Precisely. And the midlife money reset leans heavily into the literal catch-up mechanisms provided by the government.
Oh, the IRS rules.
Yeah. The IRS allows catch-up contributions, meaning once you hit age 50, you are legally allowed to contribute significantly more money to your 401k and IRA than younger workers.
Right, to literally catch up.
Exactly. The strategy isn't about becoming a Wall Street day trader trying to pick winning tech stocks to make up for lost time. That's how you lose everything.
Yeah, too much risk.
It's about aggressively maximizing tax advantage space, automating the redirection of newly freed up cash, and adjusting your asset allocation so you aren't taking on the volatility risks of a 25-year-old.
Intentionality and automation over complexity and gambling. I love that. So I want to ask you listening right now, what stands out to you?
Yeah, think about it.
When you hear the phrase build wealth with intention, what does that actually look like in your own life today? Look at your current cash flow. Is there a debt dropping off in 6 months?
Or maybe a structural expense you could downsize.
Exactly, to fund that Tier 2 emergency runway. Because the profound promise of the midlife money reset is that you don't need a convoluted system of a dozen different investment apps.
You really don't.
You just need a realistic, targeted system that mathematically acknowledges you are starting at mile 13 and gives you the exact pacing and tools you need to finish the race on your own terms.
It's a complete paradigm shift. It moves the focus from mourning the sheer volume of time you've lost to maximizing the efficiency of the time you still have. Make up ground is a very active, empowering phrase. It implies, both emotionally and mathematically, that the ground can be made up. You haven't forfeited the race. The board hasn't been flipped over.
Exactly. The race is still very much on, and you now have the cleats to run it. And that realization really brings us to the ultimate transformation that the midlife money reset is designed to deliver.
The big payoff.
It's about moving from that initial state of feeling stuck, feeling worried, feeling like your financial goals have been permanently relegated to the back seat, to waking up with an entirely different reality.
A reality where you are in control.
Yes. Imagine waking up tomorrow knowing you have a clear, automated financial plan, knowing you have a layered safety net protecting you from the unexpected, and most importantly, actually feeling genuinely confident about your future because the math is finally working for you, not against you.
It is a profound shift from a state of anxious avoidance to a state of absolute agency. And the midlife money reset really hammers this home in its conclusion with a core mantra.
What's the mantra?
It leaves the reader with a very clear, uncompromising three-part directive. Stop waiting. Stop worrying. Start rebuilding.
So what does this all mean? When we zoom out and take all of these pieces, the shedding of the shame filter, the construction of a midlife-specific tiered emergency buffer, the automated mechanics of the realistic catch-up strategies, how do we synthesize this into a final actionable takeaway for the listener?
Well, the midlife money reset insists fundamentally that your past financial decisions do not define your future. We've established that the math allows for a comeback.
Definitely.
But building on the text's underlying philosophy, I think there is a deeper, almost hidden layer to consider about the nature of the people reading it.
Like what?
Think about the very things that caused the financial setbacks we discussed. Surviving the sudden job loss, navigating the brutal logistics of a divorce, enduring the stress of unexpected medical emergencies.
Yeah, the heavy stuff.
Surviving those events without completely folding required an immense, almost unfathomable amount of personal grit and resilience. You learned how to live lean. You learned how to pivot when the floor dropped out.
You became battle-tested.
Exactly. So the provocative thought I'd leave you with is this. What if that exact grit, the extreme resilience you developed simply by surviving your past financial struggles, is actually your greatest, most valuable hidden financial asset?
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
Never thought of it that way.
Right. Younger investors might have more time, but they haven't been tested by the fires of real life yet. You have. What if the very traumas that made you feel behind have actually equipped you with the exact emotional and strategic strength required to make this next chapter your strongest, most prosperous one yet?
I absolutely love that. It totally reframes the entire journey. You aren't just a victim trying to recover from a setback. You are a highly resilient veteran who is uniquely equipped to rebuild an empire,
You know how to survive the storm.
which means you know exactly how strong to build a new house. So going back to that big directory map at the start of our conversation, maybe the "you are here" star isn't pointing to the wrong continent after all.
Not at all.
Given everything you've learned and survived, maybe it's pointing exactly to the starting line of your absolute best chapter.
The past is just data. You are exactly where you need to be to start rebuilding.
And on that empowering note, we will wrap it up. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Take that first step, audit that shame, and we will catch you on the next one.